Financial dashboard is simply a way to get the relevant numbers, the relevant data in front of a business owner at all times. Most business owners that start to work with me will typically look at their profit and loss statement on a monthly basis, or maybe even their balance sheet. Mm-hmm. And with that information, try and run their business.
You're listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, where you get valuable information you just can't find anywhere else. To thrive in today's trying times, you need the Financial Survival Network, now more than ever. Go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com and get your free newsletter and gift. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.
Welcome. You are listening to and watching the Financial Survival Network. I'm your host, Kerry Lutz. Well, if you run a small business like me, you have a practice, whatever, you really want to hear from the next person. Name is Nate Jensen, certified management accountant. Not a term I'm familiar with, but what you do, Nate, correct me if I'm wrong, is you help businesses manage their finances by creating a financial dashboard. So sounds interesting, sounds exotic. What exactly is a financial dashboard?
Well, I don't know how exotic it is. But a financial dashboard is simply a way to get the relevant numbers, the relevant data in front of a business owner at all times. Most business owners that start to work with me will typically look at their profit and loss statement on a monthly basis, or maybe even their balance sheet. Mm-hmm. And with that information, try and run their business. But without doing some deeper analysis, there's not a lot of information that someone can just get from just looking at the P&L. Just looking at that data, you don't know which employees are your best employees. You don't know which clients are your best clients. And so I create a dashboard that updates in real time, that lets companies see, these are my numbers that matter. These are my targets for those numbers. And here's how I'm performing. And then when you see those gaps between your actual performance and your targets, it's very easy to identify where in your business needs to be shored up, where you need to focus to improve your profit.
Hey, so oftentimes in a small business, especially, your best customer isn't necessarily your highest volume customer, right? You could be losing money on a high volume, big customer, and it's the smaller ones you're actually making the money on, right?
Absolutely. And it's interesting because when most people think, my business is not profitable enough, I'm not making enough money, I need to do better. All they know how to do, or like their at least their reflex, their gut instinct is, I need to sell more. I need more clients. I need more business. And so they go and they focus on, how do I get more clients? And yet if they have an inefficient process or an inefficient, let's say, segment of their business, so maybe they have a team or a department that isn't really performing that well, simply adding more fuel to that is going to sort of maximize that inefficiency. Right, bringing in a new client. In fact, I've seen many times clients of mine bring in new customers only to find that they're, as owners, working twice as hard and really not making any more money. And so before you focus on growth, focus on making things efficient and understanding your numbers internally. And then when you've got a good system and you say, okay, I know that my employees are good, my departments are good, my utilization rates or whatever the metrics are that matter, when everything's in place, then growth maximizes your profitability. Growth without that, again, if you have inefficient processes, I think it was Bill Gates that said that. Mm-hmm. Growth maximizes inefficient profit or inefficient processes. You've got to focus on that internal stuff first.
Gotcha. Makes total sense. So tell us some companies. You don't have to name names, but tell us about companies you've helped in the past.
So let me think of a good example. I've done work with a lot of marketing companies. One of my biggest customers there, they were classic of what I just was talking about. They had, when I started, they had roughly 25 employees, and over 5 or 6 years, I think they're now at about 40. And they've gone through cycles where they've done really well, and that growth actually did drive greater profits. And there's other times where they focus just on the growth, but then if they have their creative department or their digital marketing department that weren't as efficient, just weren't as good at delivering consistently, we could quickly see the profits fall off. And so for them, it's it was a matter of saying, okay, what really matters? Well, because they're in the service industry, profit by client is a key factor, right? And they have some huge clients and they have some very small clients. And by putting things in a dashboard, and when I say a dashboard, it's charts and graphs, right? It's pictures. So you're not reading through tables of data. You're just looking at graphs. Is it going up? Is it going down? We started with sort of the financial statement level, right? We could see month over month. Am I improving my profit or am I decreasing in profit? If you're decreasing in profit, between your revenue and your gross profit line, so your cost of goods sold is kind of that middle factor, we realized we needed to go deeper and figure out not just profit as a company or gross profit as a company, but gross profit by client. And we could very quickly see that somewhere between 10 and 15% of their clients were generating about 90% of their gross profit, which means if you could see their graph, it goes up, kind of sharply in the beginning with those relatively few clients. It goes flat for most of the rest of the graph, and then it actually drops at the end as they have a few clients who are unprofitable.
Losers.
Exactly.
What about salespeople? You think your best salesperson is the one who sells the highest dollars, but in reality, that's not always the case, is it?
No. In fact, I can give you another example that you just reminded me of. I had a client who sold, they were a dietary supplement company, and they had different sales channels, but one of them was their retail channel. They had, I think, 10 or 12 different products that did, depending on what supplement you wanted to take, vitamins and different things. And they did have a sales team, a small sales team, that were given commission based on the total revenue, the total amount that they could sell. Well, when I went and analyzed each of those 12 different products and figured out which ones were the most profitable products, it actually, in that case, was the lowest cost product. That was the highest profit because it cost us so little to make that when I pointed that out, we completely changed the commission structure. It's like, hey, everybody sell this product. We'll make twice as much for every bottle of this product than for that product. And so just understanding that, again, they didn't have to increase their total volume. They could actually just shift what they were selling and double their income. So insights like that are pretty powerful. Let me give you one more example real quick. A client of mine that's a restaurant. It was kind of a newer restaurant, older restaurant, but opened a new location. And the new location was not doing very well. They kind of broke even every month, some months a little over, some months a little under. We built his dashboard, and one of the metrics that we included, two of the metrics were how many tables he turned over every month, and then his average ticket size, right? So how much was each check each time he had people sit down for dinner. And we did a little figuring between those two metrics and realized that if he would increase the average ticket size by $2.50, he would go from breaking even to making about $10,000 a month. And so with that information, he said, well, how do I do that? I'm like, well, it's just training, right? That's like selling one more drink per meal or one more dessert or whatever it is. And the very next month, he actually did that. You could see the spike in his sales from one month to the next, just by understanding that tiny shift in how he looked at the profitability of his business. So it's different for everybody. Again, restaurants going to have way different metrics that are important than a marketing company. But if you know what those metrics are and you know what your targets are, then all it is comparing how do we do compared to our target. If there's a gap, fix it, figure out why. It just tells you where to focus.
All right. Well, so what the information does, I would say it's all about the story. No, all numbers do is tell a story, but without words, with numbers. And the numbers tell all, don't they?
Yeah, but see, I would go one step further, Kerry, because if you look at your P&L, let's say you want to see how you did for the year, and you look at a P&L month over month over month, you're looking at, possibly a couple dozen rows of data, 12 columns, one for each month. Just looking at a sheet of numbers, it's very hard to understand that story. And I think until you take that table of numbers and turn it into a picture, a chart, it's going to be very hard to figure out what to do. And especially because a lot of things on your P&L, you need to understand ratios, right? What's my gross profit as a percentage of sales? What's my net income as a percentage of gross profit?
Sure.
So you've got to, I don't want to say dumb it down, but I want you simplify it, right? Mm-hmm. If something's simple, you're going to do it. If it's complicated, I see business owners have lots of data and they don't do anything with it because it's just too much time to sit and analyze it.
Well, you got to have the right? You got to have the right numbers, and they have to be presented in a way where they effectively tell that story, right? It's not enough just to get numbers, but you got to have them presented properly.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I think you either need a CFO, or at least a fractional CFO in your business to do that for you. Or if you have a dashboard that's very already tailored to your business, most CEOs are smart enough they can, figure it out if they have a picture, and they can kind of take the next step. So
yeah. So is that something you do too, fractional CFO?
Yeah, sort of. So my model is my main product is putting together those dashboards, and most of my clients for the first couple of months, they'll need a little training, teaching. So I'll show them how to read it, how to interpret it, how to take action on it. But then once they're up and running, in fact, the reason I built this business the way that I have is because my last business, it was a fractional CFO company, and people would hire me to come in, and after, depending on the company, but after, let's say 3 to 6 months, we kind of had things in order. I would have a regular meeting with them, and often felt like I wasn't providing value because they knew how to read the dashboard without me at that point. And so I realized if I could provide that dashboard, give them a little training up front, and then they can, people can still retain me back, for like an hourly fee later down the road if they need to. But again, if I give people that picture that's in real time, that's updated automatically, they have what they need to make good decisions.
And the dashboard needs to be updated periodically, right?
Yes. And so I use a couple of different software tools to build these dashboards. And for the most part, they get updated automatically. They sync with somebody's, QuickBooks or NetSuite or, many different kinds of, whether it's accounting softwares or project management softwares or whatever. So as much as I can, I automate that process.
All right, cool. All right. So how do we find you? How do we connect with you on the internet?
Best way to get a hold of me is just go to my website. It's zerotocfo.com. That's ZEROTO CFO.com. And there's a contact form there. You can reach out. I'm very happy to talk with people in sort of an exploratory way, right? Some people might think, do I really need this? And I don't know. In my opinion, maybe everybody needs it in some sense, but if they're not ready for it, I'm happy to talk through someone's numbers with them and just tell them what I see.
Yeah, well, we used to have a company, had a printing company, nothing nearly as sophisticated as what you have because the technology just wasn't there before, but we had 10 key numbers that we tracked every single day. How much we billed out, how much we collected, how much we paid out, and how much we were billed, among other numbers. Yeah. And then we tracked new customers. We tracked, sales by individual, but that was about the best we could do. So I can see this having way more applicability and way more utility than what we were doing way back when.
Yeah. Well, if I can give your listeners some value here, if someone's not interested in a dashboard right now, I would just make a recommendation is figure out what are the top 3 numbers that matter, right? Maybe it's revenue, maybe it's, again, gross profit as a percentage of sales, or whatever it is that moves your needle. Know at least the top 3 and know what those should be every single month. And if you're only using 3, you should be able to at least, get into your books and measure them once a month and see how you're doing. Most of my dashboards are going to have a lot more metrics than 3, but if you're not doing anything, start with 3 and see if it doesn't provide you some insight into your business that you didn't have before.
All right. Very cool. I like it. That's useful. And hey, the link to Nate's website is in the show notes of this interview on financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Make sure you click it. Go there. While you're at the site, sign up for your free newsletter. Nate, it's a pleasure. Appreciate you stopping by. We'll talk to you again soon.
Thank you, Kerry.
Thanks for listening to Kerry Lutz's Financial Survival Network, your solution to today's trying times. For the latest, go to financialsurvivalnetwork.com. Financial Survival Network, now more than ever.